So yesterday I shared a short film about what this lens demands from you. And today I want to talk about how it actually behaves. Most of you know I've been shooting the 50mm 0.95 Noctilux for 9 years. I'm emotionally attached to it. I never thought anything could replace it. And I definitely didn't expect the 35mm Noctilux to challenge that belief. There isn't much real-world information out there yet on the 35mm Noctilux, so yes, we are going to talk about specs today. But specs alone have never been why people choose a Noctilux. What matters is how a Noctilux changes the way you shoot. And honestly, this lens challenged the way I shoot more than I expected. Let's start with the obvious. Yes, the 35 Noctilux is significantly smaller and lighter than the 50.95. The 50 weighs about 630 grams and the 35 comes in at around 366 grams, almost half. On paper, those are just numbers. But in practice, it changed when I brought a Noctilux at all. The 50 has always been a commitment. I choose it deliberately and I plan around it. With the 35, I found myself using it in situations where I normally wouldn't use my 50, and that already changes the kinds of images I make with it. All 50mm Noctiluxes have a minimum focusing distance of 1 meter. If you live with them long enough, you learn how to work around that. The 35, on the other hand, focuses down to half a meter, and that's really close. I noticed I wasn't stepping back as much anymore. I was moving toward my subjects instead. Space just wasn't something I had to think about the same way. And because of that, the connection felt more intimate, physically, but also emotionally. What surprised me was how natural it felt. Even at close distances, the 35 doesn't distort portraits the way I expected. Faces still feel honest, nothing feels exaggerated. It just lets intimacy happen. A lot of people struggle with the 50 wide open, and if you've shot it, you know why. That struggle is part of its character, but it's also part of the cost. With the 35, the depth of field is inherently a bit wider, and the lens has more contrast overall, which helps when you're focusing. I felt more comfortable staying at f1.2 longer, not because it's easier, but because it's easier to read what's happening as you focus. It keeps me present instead of second-guessing myself. This is the most modern interpretation of a Noctilux Leica has made. There's more contrast, more control, better correction. If you care about MTF charts, you've probably already seen them. On paper, the 35 behaves very differently from the 50.95. But paper has never explained why people fall in love with Noctilux lenses. Some of my favorite character lenses look terrible on charts. And yet, the 50 f1 Noctilux gives you that vintage, dreamy, glowy look that no other lens quite replicates, especially for portraits. There's nothing on paper that prepares you for how the 35 Noctilux handles flare. No chart tells you what happens when you point it straight into light. With most lenses, flare is something you try to avoid or fix later. With this one, I noticed myself leaning into it and actually really enjoying it. This lens resolves flare beautifully, amazingly. It almost invites you to work with it. You still have to be careful though. From certain angles, contrast drops quickly and focus becomes more challenging. But when it works, it doesn't just add to the image, it feels deliberate. The 35 Noctilux naturally vignettes pretty heavily. The lens profiles will be available on launch day, so look out for updates available for your camera. One thing that's always bothered me about the 50.95 is the chromatic aberration. So I was genuinely happy to see how much better the 35 handles it, especially considering wider lenses usually struggle more with CA. I did a side-by-side comparison and the difference surprised me. Physically, the 35 is much easier for me to handle. I have small hands and I just feel like I have better control of it. The lens hood is integrated like the .95, but it's on the track, so you twist it out instead of pulling and locking it. The aperture ring feels smoother, but the clicks are more pronounced. If you rely on those clicks when you shoot, that tactile feedback gives you a lot of confidence. Okay, now here's the part I didn't expect. For how I shoot today, the 35 Noctilux actually makes more sense for me than the 50. That doesn't mean the 50 is obsolete, and it definitely doesn't mean I'm letting it go. The 50 is emotional for me. The 35 is practical in the way Noctilux lenses usually aren't. And that realization, honestly, bothered me more than I thought it would. Because Noctilux lenses aren't supposed to be practical. This lens will make you a better photographer. It won't hide hesitation, it won't fix bad habits, but it will force you over and over to decide what actually matters in the frame, and then it makes you live with those decisions. If you've never understood why someone would choose a Noctilux, this lens might not change your mind. But if you already do, this is the first one that might change your loyalty.